There's a little like thing that I pull out, and then I put a squeezy tube down into my mouth, and then I can drink from a bottle.
Just how uncomfortable can wearing a Spider-Man suit be? Every Spider-Man film has boasted an extremely vibrant collection of characters equipped with some state-of-the-art costumes and makeup. From those tight Spidey suits to those gruesome villainous prosthetics, the stars of the Spider-Man movies had to get quite uncomfortable when portraying their on-screen personas.
I was just like swinging about in this super creepy way and like trying to talk to Peter.
Who wouldn't want to suit up as Spider-Man? It was our childhood dream to put on the iconic red and blue suit, and that was no different for star Tom Holland.
I feel like my whole life had been leading up to me trying on this suit.
Despite the excitement, wearing the suit on set did come with some setbacks. In fact, Holland believes that he has the hardest suit to wear out of anyone in the Marvel Universe. Whenever Holland has the classic suit on, he's covered head to toe in lycra with no skin showing.
I can't even use my phone. Yeah. And I'm 23, like I use my phone a lot.
In fact, Holland isn't even able to scratch an itch on his face in the costume. It's just one of the costs of being Spider-Man.
It looks amazing, it feels terrible.
The costume designers behind the Mysterio suit wanted to make sure that it was as practical as possible. Since the bulky costume wasn't particularly the most comfortable fit, the producers assumed that Gyllenhaal wouldn't want to be wearing the villain's threads in too many scenes.
You know, it's like wearing a ball gown. They sort of like grab your back, you're all of a sudden choked by this.
Right.
Though Gyllenhaal was more than willing, and even a little excited to bear through the discomfort and wear the Mysterio costume whenever he would see fit. So not only is this costume practical, but he wears it everywhere. It makes sense to wear it, so we think this looks amazing.
It took a little bit of time to put on, but once it was on, yeah, it made me feel pretty strong.
It wasn't just Alfred Molina who took on the persona of Doc Ock. Director Sam Raimi wanted the villain's trademark claws to actually be practical effects, which led to puppeteers acting around Molina to make his robotic tentacles look more alive. Molina needed to do rehearsals in costumes so he could get accustomed to moving around in the complicated suit.
People understand how much the actors are doing, because you think, oh, it's all magical CGI stuff.
Topher Grace had to undergo a grueling makeup process to become the iconic Spider-Man villain Venom for the third film in the original trilogy. I had 4 hours of prosthetic makeup every morning when I was Venom, and just getting on the suit takes about 45 minutes before that, so I had to get there at 3 or something. Grace also had to go through an extensive workout routine to gain around 20 pounds for the role. In order for Dane DeHaan to become the grotesque and slimy Green Goblin, the makeup took over 3 hours. Initial designs for the gross-looking villain had DeHaan taking on an even greener look as the iconic Spider-Man villain, but the makeup department decided to go for a look that felt more slightly human than full-on goblin.
That's how I started out, playing pretend and dressing up as superheroes.
Dane DeHaan's goblin suit weighed 50 pounds and took an hour to put on. The set where DeHaan was required to be in his goblin getup was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And because of the extreme conditions, DeHaan lost 7 pounds in just 2 days. Now that's impressive. Jamie Foxx had the distinct advantage of having 2 distinctive styles as Max Dillon, aka Electro, in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But it was his villain's nerdy alter ego that was internally painful for typically sleek and smooth Foxx. Foxx dubbed his hair on set as the first black comb-over, and he also sported a gap in his teeth. When I was Max on the streets, girls are like, look at Jamie Foxx, at that hair, oh my god, something is off with him. At the same time, Foxx was at least somewhat relieved that he wouldn't be as bombarded with attention, since he figured there'd be plenty of people who wouldn't recognize him. Honestly though, most people would be able to recognize Jamie Foxx no matter the makeup.
Hey y'all, tell everybody, Electro's in town.
The makeup department behind Jamie Foxx's Electro look had to get very experimental in order to prevent inhibiting Foxx's performance as the blue-skinned villain. Very thin pieces of silicone were applied all over Foxx's body in order for the look to be much more believable. On top of the silicone, Foxx had to wear glowing blue contact lenses.
It was a great choice to be in this film, and I'm happy and fortunate that they chose me.
While Rhys Ifans' full lizard form was mostly CGI, there still was plenty of makeup work to be done for the transitioning stages of the villain. Ifans would spend up to 7 to 8 hours in the makeup chair to complete his green, scaly look. After 7 hours in a chair with not enough cigarettes, I was kind of in the right mental state to play a man who was about to transform into a 9-foot lizard with a dangerous tail. The prosthetics caused a lot of chafing on Ifan's body, which led him to walking around like a cowboy for several days after filming. After all, there has to be some side effects from becoming the lizard. Marvel was extremely strict about what Holland was supposed to wear underneath his costume. During Holland's first day on set, he was given thongs by the crew as the only thing he could wear under the Spider-Man costume. I had serious misgivings. Would my ever be the same again? But I had to get used to it.
So essentially, I have to wear, pajamas.
Michael Keaton's Vulture suit stands out in how it combines the classic Marvel style with something a bit more grounded. I can't tell you, there are hundreds maybe of little screws, literally, that special wrenches made to put the boots in a certain way. A costume this intricate took quite some time to fully equip on Keaton.
I don't know what my favorite costume was because it's like, 7:30? I'm barely awake. I barely know where I am.
Andrew Garfield wasn't necessarily thrilled the first time he put on his Spider-Man suit. The suit he wore was made of a material that was designed to make you irritated. On top of that, Garfield's suit was skin tight, which led to more of his body being visible to the public than we would have preferred. One of the first nights, we were out on location in downtown LA. We were in a parking structure. I knew there were paparazzi taking terrible, unflattering shots of my, everything. It was an acting exercise.
It was just a lot to hold. I struggled to hold it all. I kind of rejected it a lot.
Rules were so strict that Holland claimed that even simply drinking water in the Spidey suit was dangerous. This led to Holland and the costume designers having to brainstorm ways to adapt, as obviously, Holland would need some fluids while filming in the heat.
I can kind of get it. I've had a Kit Kat in the suit now.
The left eye on the Spidey costume would have a squeezy tube attached that Holland would have to pull out and put into his mouth so he could get a drink of water. How refreshing.
I loved in Spider-Man, particularly playing the double role.
Willem Dafoe is known for his very distinguishable jawline, so when playing Norman Osborne in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, he needed to look more like how the billionaire character looked in the comics. Dafoe was given dental prosthetics to make his teeth look straighter as the main villain, though the prosthetics were removed whenever his character would look at himself in the mirror.
And they were really fun to do.
While Willem Dafoe surprisingly did not need much prosthetic work done, the acclaimed thespian still had some discomfort about the Green Goblin's technologically advanced costume. Dafoe called his experience in costume severe, though he still had a great time on set. Whenever Tom Holland put on that Spider-Man suit, he knew there was no going back for him, in many ways, like having to wait to go to the bathroom.
An accident is not an option. That suit is so expensive. They'll be so upset with me.
In fact, Holland would have to plan going to take a bathroom break 45 minutes in advance. Hopefully there were no accidents while filming. Tobey Maguire wore the iconic red and blue Spider-Man suit over the course of 3 films. Just because he had a longer tenure as the character than somebody like Andrew Garfield, that didn't make the suit any more comfortable. In fact, the black symbiote suit that Maguire wore in the 3rd film proved to be the most uncomfortable suit of them all. It can ride up in the crotch a little bit. It's not really the outerwear of the suit, it's the inner bit that rides up. Well, at least it wasn't Flash Thompson giving the wedgies this time. Tobey Maguire holds the title of being the first actor to portray Spider-Man on the big screen, and with that, the costume designers were still trying to work through crafting the perfect Spider-Man costume. In order to get the costume right, the designers had to do a full-body cast of Maguire, which wasn't the most fun experience for the actor. I had to stand there for a couple of hours, and then the stuff sticking to the hair on my body, and they ripped it off, and it was extremely painful. Maguire even initially had a hard time acting with the Spider-Man mask on, though he was able to get used to it quite quickly. While Andrew Garfield's comics-accurate Spider-Man suit may have been a fan favorite in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was far from comfortable for Garfield to wear.
It was a very specific experience, and I imagine it'll be different every time.
Garfield blamed his British reverse on the reason why he was uncomfortable in the costume. Spandex does not suit the British. You are pretty much naked, so you have to trust what you have is enough. Paul Giamatti's Rhino suit required plenty of CGI, but that didn't prevent his on-set appearance from being an uncomfortable one. In fact, Giamatti's costume while filming required him to be attached to a large metal-like structure, some of which he'd wear with backpack straps. There's clearly a lot that goes into making these Spider-Man characters look as good as they do, from hours-long makeup applications to extravagant prosthetics and uncomfortable costumes. The franchise's biggest stars were able to power through their discomfort when bringing the famous webhead to life.